The face that filled the view screen belonged to a woman who had stopped being afraid 17 months ago. General Vexar had seen that look before. On his homeworld in the eyes of the Karthak, the apex predator that hunted the highland valleys. The creature never snarled, never postured. It simply watched, and you understood that the decision had already been made. This woman watched him the same way. General Vexar? Her voice was calm, professional. She did not introduce herself. She did not need to. We could have destroyed your fleet the moment it entered our system. Behind her, a tactical display showed energy signatures that should have required capital ship reactors. They were emerging from underground bunkers, civilian factories, structures his sensors had dismissed as primitive infrastructure. But that wouldn't have sent the right message to your empire. Commander Zills made a sound, not quite a word, somewhere between a swallowed cough and the first note of panic. Vexar's mandibles, which had been clicking in steady satisfaction moments ago, stopped moving. What you're seeing is 1% of our defensive capability. The woman's eyes did not blink. The remaining 99% is designed for offensive deployment. If your empire ever threatens human children again, we will bring those weapons to your worlds. And we will demonstrate why the universe should have left the children of a Death World species alone. The transmission ended. On the bridge of the Dominion Claw, 70 Corfax officers sat in silence. The cooling systems hummed. A console beeped somewhere in the aft section. Someone's station, someone's responsibility, someone who had forgotten to mute their alerts. Vexar's secondary hands gripped the armrest of his command throne. His primary hands hung at his sides. His mandibles, for the first time since his commissioning 70 years ago, did nothing at all. Sir, Zills's voice cracked on the single syllable. The projectiles are still inbound, 17 minutes to. I heard her. Vexar stared at the blank screen where the woman's face had been. He had not asked her name. He realized now that she had not expected him to ask. She had not come here to be known. She had come here to be remembered. 57 minutes ago, he said slowly, we believed we were winning. 57 minutes earlier, General Vexar had been standing in the same spot, watching the same blue planet spin below, and he had believed he was about to add a 39th species to the Corfax Empire's harvest ledger. The Dominion Claw hung in geosynchronous orbit above what the humans called North America. Below, 17 collection ships were descending toward population centers across 7 continents. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned. Commander Zills, report on harvesting progress. Zills hurried to his station, his gray skin gleaming under the bridge's emergency lighting. He had the look of an officer who had spent too long staring at data pads, slightly hunched, webbed fingers always tapping at something, a nervous habit that Vexar had learned to tolerate. Excellent progress, General. We have collected over 3,000 specimens from the major population centers. The humans barely fought back. Vexar's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Barely. Most just screamed and ran, sir. Their military units are scattered. Their weapons are chemical-based projectiles and crude explosives. They have nothing that can reach our fleet. Focus the harvesting on the smaller specimens, Vexar ordered. The young ones adapt faster to our training programs. They will make excellent workers in the mining colonies. Already underway, sir. We prioritize the collection of human offspring. The adults seem to have strong emotional attachments to them. It makes them more compliant. Through the view screen, Vexar watched a collection ship descend toward a city on the eastern coast. The ship's pacification beams swept across a residential district. Humans ran, some screamed. A few stood frozen, arms wrapped around children. Curious behavior, he thought, but irrelevant. The Corfax Empire had been expanding across the galaxy for 2 centuries. 38 species had been integrated into the harvest economy. Some had fought. Some had negotiated. Some had offered their own children in exchange for favorable treatment. None had mattered. Sir, the communications officer looked up from her console. Incoming transmission from Collection Ship 7. Captain Mork is reporting an anomaly. Put it through. Captain Mork's scaled face appeared on a secondary display. His expression was not alarm. Mork had served under Vexar for 12 years and had learned to conceal his emotions, but something underneath his professional calm suggested confusion. General, we are experiencing unexpected resistance at Collection Point Gamma. The local humans have formed some kind of defensive formation around their offspring. Vexar's mandibles clicked once. Elaborate. They have surrounded the area where we are gathering specimens. They are not attacking us directly, but they refuse to disperse. Some are even placing themselves between our collection beams and their young. Mork paused. They seem willing to be taken instead. That is not resistance, Vexar said. That is desperation. Perhaps, sir, but it is slowing our collection rate. Use the pacification beams if necessary. We are on a schedule. Yes, sir. The transmission ended. Vexar returned his attention to the tactical display. The overall operation was still proceeding efficiently. 17 collection ships, all operating within parameters. The humans might delay them, but they would not stop them. No species in galactic history had ever presented a threat to a Corfax fleet. Sir, Zills approached with his data pad. I have been analyzing human communication patterns. There appears to be increased chatter on their military channels. Expected. They are coordinating their futile defensive efforts. Perhaps, sir, Zills hesitated, but the tone of their communications has changed. Our linguists note that their emotional indicators have shifted from fear and panic to something else. He consulted his pad again. The closest translation would be cold rage, sir. Vexar's mandibles clicked dismissively. Emotional responses to helplessness. Continue monitoring, but do not let it concern you. As if summoned by his confidence, another communication request came in. This time from Collection Ship 12, operating over what the humans called North America's western region. General, this is Captain Hergall. We have an unusual situation developing. Speak. The local human military units have ceased their scattered attacks and appear to be consolidating. Our sensors detect massive movement of their ground forces toward our collection sites. How many units? Unknown, sir. They appear to be using some form of electronic interference that is degrading our deep scan capabilities. Hergall's voice tightened. However, we estimate several thousand vehicles and tens of thousands of personnel. Vexar turned from the display. The humans had shown no capability for organized resistance on this scale during the initial invasion 3 days ago. Their military had been scattered, ineffective. Are they bringing up their most advanced weapons? That is what is strange, sir. Hergall's confusion bled through the professional mask. They appear to be bringing everything, not just military units, civilian vehicles, construction equipment, even what our databases identify as farm machinery. He paused. It is as if their entire population is mobilizing. Vexar felt the first stirring of unease. In his centuries of conquest, he had seen desperate last stands before, but they were usually limited to professional military forces. Civilian populations typically sought shelter or attempted to flee. How are they organizing this movement? We destroyed their primary command and communication centers in the first strike. Unknown, sir. They seem to be using short-range communication systems and spreading information through personal networks. It is remarkably decentralized. Hergall's voice dropped slightly. Difficult for us to disrupt. Vexar considered the report. Then he made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his career. Maintain collection operations. If they wish to make themselves easier targets by concentrating their forces, so be it. Ready the bombardment systems if they become too much of a nuisance. Understood, sir. As the transmission ended, Vexar noticed that several other collection teams were reporting similar developments. The humans were moving with purpose and coordination that seemed to exceed their technological capabilities. Impossible, he told himself, they are primitives. But something in his chest, something old and quiet that had kept him alive through 70 years of military service, whispered a different word. Watch. Commander Zills. He kept his voice steady. Access the Imperial database. I want all available information on human society and military organization. Right away, sir. While Zills worked at his station, Vexar studied the tactical display more carefully. The human movements were forming distinct patterns. They were not randomly rushing toward collection sites. They were creating approach routes, supply lines, support positions. He had seen these patterns before, on a dozen worlds, in 100 battles. They were the movements of an army. Sir, Zills returned, his webbed fingers moving across his data pad. I have the database files. According to our preliminary surveys, humans are a relatively young species with a fragmented political structure. Multiple nation-states with a history of frequent conflicts among themselves. No unified planetary government or military command. None, sir. Yet they appear to be coordinating a planet-wide response. Zills hesitated. The database also notes that humans have an unusually strong protective instinct regarding their offspring. Multiple behavioral studies suggest this drives much of their social organization. Many species protect their young, Vexar said. It rarely translates to effective military action. True, sir, Zills scrolled through his pad. But there are some unusual notes in the xenobiology reports. Humans evolved on what the classification system designates as a Class 12 death world. Vexar turned from the display. Repeat that. Class 12 death world, sir. Extreme weather variations, high gravity, aggressive predator species, frequent natural disasters, toxic atmospheric variations in some regions. That cannot be correct. They have no advanced technology. Deathworld species typically develop superior defensive capabilities. Zills checked his data again. The report suggests that humans developed intelligence and social cooperation as their primary survival adaptations instead of individual physical enhancement. They learned to use tools and work together to overcome environmental challenges. Interesting, Vexar said, but irrelevant. He turned back to the display. Tools and cooperation mean nothing against superior technology. A new alarm sounded on the bridge. The weapons officer, a tall Corfax with ceremonial scars across his face, looked up from his console with an expression Vexar had never seen on him before. Concern. General, I am detecting unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface. Explain. Multiple point sources of electromagnetic radiation are appearing across all continents. The signatures are not consistent with human technology as we understand it. Vexar moved to the weapons station and studied the sensor data. Dozens of energy sources were indeed appearing, emerging from underground installations or previously undetected facilities. Are these weapons? Unknown, sir. The energy output is significant, but the pattern is unlike anything in our database of planetary defense systems. Sir, the communications officer again. Priority transmission from Collection Ship 3. Put it through. Captain Valton appeared. His usual calm demeanor was gone. In its place was something Vexar had not seen on a subordinate's face in 40 years. Agitation. General, we need immediate support. The humans have launched a coordinated attack on our collection operation. Details. They came from multiple directions simultaneously, using vehicles and weapons we had not previously detected. Valton's voice climbed slightly. Our pacification beams had minimal effect. They are employing some kind of kinetic projectile weapons that are penetrating our collection ship armor. Impossible. Our armor is designed to withstand Class 8 weapons. Human projectile weapons are barely Class 2. I am sending you the sensor data now, sir. Valton's scaled hands moved across his console. They appear to have modified their weapons systems. The projectiles are moving at velocities much higher than our initial assessments indicated. The data came through. Vexar stared at the numbers. The projectile velocities were indeed much higher than expected. More troubling, the humans seem to be targeting specific weak points in the collection ship design, points that should have been unknown to any species outside the Empire. How did they acquire this level of technical knowledge about our ships? Unknown, sir? Valton's image flickered, interference from the planet's surface. But they are also employing coordinated tactical movements that suggest advanced military training. These are not the same humans we encountered 3 days ago. The transmission cut to static. Vexar stared at the blank display. Around him, the bridge had gone quiet. Officers were watching him, waiting for orders, waiting for the confidence that had carried them through 38 conquests. Sir, Commander Zills approached with his data pad. His webbed fingers were tapping faster than usual. I am seeing similar reports from collection teams across the planet. The humans appear to have rapidly adapted their weapons and tactics. Vexar's mandibles clicked once, twice, a third time. In 70 years of military service, he had never seen a species demonstrate such rapid adaptive capability. The humans were not just fighting back. They were learning, evolving their tactics in real time. Sir, the communications officer again. We are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It appears to be directed at the entire fleet. From whom? Unknown. The signal is coming from multiple locations simultaneously. Put it through. The view screen flickered. The image of a human appeared, not the woman from before, but an older male with gray hair and what appeared to be military insignia. His eyes were hard. His voice carried an authority that made several bridge officers shift uncomfortably. To the alien fleet in orbit around Earth, you have made a grave mistake. The human paused. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, more dangerous. You have taken our children. We are giving you one opportunity to return every human you have captured and leave our system immediately. Vexar stepped forward. I am General Vexar of the Corfax Empire. Your species has been selected for integration into the Imperial workforce. Resistance is futile. The human's expression did not change. You have 1 hour. The transmission ended. The bridge of the Dominion Claw had never been this quiet. Vexar stood at the view screen, staring at the blue planet below. Somewhere down there, beneath the clouds, beneath the atmosphere, beneath the primitive technology his sensors had dismissed, a species was preparing to fight. For their children, he reminded himself. For their young. Commander Zills, he did not turn around. What is our current collection status? Zills's webbed fingers moved across his data pad. We have collected approximately 4,200 specimens, sir. The majority are juveniles. Any casualties? Minimal. 3 collection ships report hull breaches. No fatalities among our personnel. He paused. The humans have not attempted to kill us, sir. They have only disabled our ability to continue harvesting. Vexar's mandibles clicked slowly. They are not trying to win, he said. They are trying to make us stop. Sir, think Zills, they could have destroyed Collection Ship 3 when they had it surrounded. They did not. They could have targeted life support instead of engines. They did not. He turned to face his commander. They are not fighting to kill us. They are fighting to make us leave. With respect, sir, why would they? Because they know something we do not. Vexar walked to the command throne. He did not sit. He stood behind it, 4 arms folded across his chest, and stared at the tactical display. 17 collection ships, each one surrounded by human forces, each one disabled but not destroyed. He spoke slowly, working through the logic. A planet-wide military mobilization that should have been impossible. Energy signatures emerging from facilities our sensors identified as civilian. He looked up at Zills. They knew we were coming. Zills's gray skin paled. That is impossible, sir. Our scout ships were undetectable. Our scout ships were undetectable to species that do not know what to look for. Vexar's mandibles clicked. But a species that evolved on a Class 12 death world. A species that learned to survive extreme weather, aggressive predators, and toxic environments. He shook his head. They would have been watching the sky. They would have noticed anything that did not belong. Sir, the Imperial database. The Imperial database is wrong. Vexar cut him off. The humans are not primitives, they are not disorganized, they are not easy prey. He turned to the communications officer. Open a channel to all collection ships. Order them to maintain positions but cease harvesting operations. I want a full status report from every captain within 15 minutes. Yes, sir. And Zills, Vexar's voice dropped. Find out how long the humans have known about us. Find out what they have been doing to prepare. Zills nodded, his webbed fingers already moving across his data pad. The minutes crawled past. Reports came in from collection ships across the planet. Each one told the same story, surrounded, disabled, but not destroyed. The humans had formed perimeters at precisely the maximum range of the ship's defensive weapons. They were not advancing. They were not attacking. They were waiting. Sir, Zills's voice was barely above a whisper. I think I found something. Report. The humans' deep space monitoring capabilities. Our initial surveys suggested they were primitive, limited to electromagnetic radiation and optical observation. He swallowed. But I found references in their civilian scientific literature to gravitational wave detection, neutrino observatories, quantum entanglement experiments. He looked up at Vexar. Sir, if they have been operating those systems continuously, they would have detected our scout ships the moment they entered their system. Not 6 months ago, not 12 months ago. He paused. 18 months ago. Vexar's mandibles stopped clicking. 18 months, he repeated. Yes, sir, and if they detected us 18 months ago, Zills trailed off. They have been preparing for us ever since. The bridge fell silent again. Vexar stared at the tactical display, at the energy signatures emerging from underground bunkers, at the human forces surrounding his collection ships, at the blue planet that had seemed so primitive just hours ago. Sir, the weapons officer's voice cut through the silence. I am detecting new energy signatures, approaching our orbital position. From where? The planet's surface. The officer's hands moved across his console. Multiple projectiles have been launched. They are on intercept courses with our fleet. Time to impact. 17 minutes, sir. Vexar's mandibles began clicking again, faster this time. Activate defensive systems. All ships are to prepare for evasive maneuvers. Sir, the weapons officer's voice was tight. The projectiles are following complex trajectory patterns. They appear to be correcting course to compensate for our movements. Guided munitions, Zills whispered. That means they have. I know what it means. Vexar turned to the communications officer. Open a channel to the surface, same source as the previous transmission. The officer worked her console. Channel open, sir. Put them through. The gray-haired human appeared on the screen. His expression had changed. Where before there had been controlled anger, now there was something cold and implacable. General Vexar, your hour has expired. You possess no weapons capable of threatening a Corfax fleet, Vexar replied. His voice carried less conviction than he intended. The human smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. We have been watching your species for longer than you know, General. We have studied your ships, your tactics, your technology. He leaned forward slightly. We know every weakness, every vulnerability, every tactical procedure in your operational manual. That is impossible. Is it? The human's smile did not waver. Did you really think a species capable of surviving on a Class 12 death world would not notice when alien ships began observing our planet? Did you think we would not prepare? He paused. Your reconnaissance teams were very thorough, General. They provided excellent intelligence about your capabilities. Unfortunately for you, several of your scout ships experienced what you reported as technical malfunctions. The human's eyes met Vexar's through the view screen. In reality, we captured them. We reverse-engineered your technology 18 months ago, General. We have been preparing for this day, ever since we realized you were targeting our children. The transmission ended. Vexar stood frozen. Around him, the bridge had become a tomb. Officers stared at displays. No one spoke. The only sound was the cooling system cycling air. Sir, Zilz's voice came from behind him. The approaching projectiles have changed course, 13 minutes to impact. Vexar turned. His mandibles were clicking now, a steady, rhythmic sound that had always meant satisfaction. Today, it meant something else. He crossed to the weapons station and studied the tactical display. The human projectiles were correcting course, adjusting for evasive maneuvers his fleet had not yet initiated. Not just guided, predictive. They have our tactical algorithms, he said quietly. Sir, our evasive patterns, shield modulation frequencies, point defense blind spots. He looked up. They have everything. Zilz's webbed fingers trembled against his data pad. If they have been preparing for 18 months with captured Corfax technology, they would know. Everything? Vexar walked back to the command throne, stood behind it, 4 arms gripping the backrest. Open a channel to the surface. The gray-haired human appeared again. His expression had not changed. What do you want? Vexar asked. The immediate and unconditional return of every human you have taken. Your collection ships will land at designated coordinates and release all captives. Your fleet will then depart our system and never return. And if we refuse? The human tilted his head. His eyes did not blink. Then you will discover why the rest of the galaxy should have left the children of a Deathworld species alone. The transmission ended. Vexar stared at the blank screen. Around him, his officers waited. Some watched him. Some watched the tactical display where the human projectiles were now 11 minutes from impact. Commander Zilz, signal all collection ships. He paused, prepare to comply with human demands. The bridge went silent. Sir, Zilz's voice cracked. The Empire has never tried to take the children of a species this dangerous. Vexar cut him off. Signal the human forces, we will comply. The communications officer nodded. Her hands moved across her console. Sir, incoming transmission from the surface. Different source. Put it through. A woman's face appeared on the screen. Dark hair cropped short. Military insignia on her collar. Her voice was crisp, professional, absolutely without warmth. General Vexar, this is Admiral Sarah Chen, Unified Earth Defense Command. Your cooperation is noted. Landing coordinates are being transmitted to your collection ships now. She paused. You have 2 hours to complete prisoner transfers. Vexar nodded slowly. Understood. Admiral, he hesitated. How many of you volunteered? Admiral Chen's expression did not change, but something in her eyes shifted, respect or sorrow or both. All of them, she said. Every adult you took knew exactly what they were doing. Every parent who let their child participate understood that this was the only way to ensure the safety of all human children. She leaned forward slightly. The children agreed to this, General. When we explained that aliens were coming to take them away, and that they could help make sure no human child ever faced that threat again, we had more volunteers than we could use. The transmission ended. The first collection ship descended at 14:37 ship time. Vexar watched from the Dominion Claw's primary view screen as Captain Mork's vessel broke atmosphere and followed the landing coordinates to a cleared field outside a human city. Human aircraft flanked the descent, not attacking, not intercepting, escorting. Sir, Zilz approached. Collection Ship 7 reports successful landing. Human forces are maintaining a perimeter at 500 meters. And the captives? Being processed for transfer now. Zills hesitated. Captain Mork reports that the humans are organized. The adults have formed groups to protect and comfort the younger ones. There is no panic, no chaos. Vexar's mandibles clicked once. They did know. They volunteered for this. But why, sir? Why would anyone volunteer to be taken by an enemy? Vexar watched the screen as the first group of human captives emerged. Adults first, walking with their hands visible. Calm, deliberate. Then the children, younger ones held by parents, older ones walking in single-file lines. Not crying, not screaming, not fighting. Walking like people who had been told exactly what would happen, and had chosen it anyway. Because they are not victims, Zills, they are soldiers. Vexar's voice was quiet. Every one of them, every adult, every child, they accepted captivity because it served a larger purpose. He turned to face his commander. We did not capture them. They allowed us to capture them. And while we thought we were harvesting specimens, they were studying our ships, learning our technology, mapping our weaknesses. Zills's gray skin had gone pale. That is not how conquest works, sir. No, Vexar turned back to the screen. It is not, which is why we lost. At 15:22, Captain Hergall requested a private channel. Sir, Hergall said, one of the human adults approached me before disembarking. She spoke our language. Vexar felt his mandibles stiffen. That is impossible. She spoke it fluently, sir. She said her name was Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez. She wanted me to give you a message. She said to tell you that every human you took was a volunteer. They volunteered to be captured so they could study our ships while the rest of their species prepared the rescue operation. Hergall's scaled face twitched. She said they have been planning this for 18 months, sir. Every detail, every contingency. The channel went silent. The final prisoner transfer completed at 16:01. Vexar had watched every landing, every release, every human adult walking calmly into the arms of waiting military personnel, every human child being checked for injuries, wrapped in blankets, given water. No one had been harmed, no one had been mistreated. Sir, Zills approached. All collection ships have returned to the fleet, all human captives released, no casualties. The humans who were taken, all accounted for. Zills paused. Several of the children waved at our crews before leaving, sir. Vexar turned, waved. Yes, sir, they seemed grateful. Vexar stared at his commander. Then he walked to the view screen and looked down at the planet below. They had come to conquer, to harvest, to add a 39th species to the Imperial ledger. They had left with nothing, but the children had waved. Commander Zills set course for Imperial space, maximum speed. Vexar retreated to his private quarters. He had a report to write. To the Imperial Command Council. We were wrong about the humans. Our initial surveys classified them as primitive. We believed their emotional attachments to their offspring would make them compliant. We were wrong about all of it. The humans detected our scout ships 18 months ago. They reverse-engineered our stealth technology in 4 months. They spent the remaining 14 months transforming their entire planet into a fortress while maintaining the appearance of primitive disorganization. They allowed us to capture their people. Their adults volunteered. Their children volunteered. They used the time we spent harvesting them to study our ships and prepare a response that made it impossible for us to continue. When we issued our ultimatum, they had already won. They did not destroy our fleet. They did not kill our personnel. They disabled us surgically without casualties, and then offered terms of surrender that preserved our lives while removing every advantage we possessed. I recommend that the Empire classify Earth and its human population as a quarantine zone, not because they are too dangerous to visit, because the rest of the galaxy is too fragile to survive what protecting their children would turn them into. Respectfully, General Vexar. Vexar returned to the bridge at 18:00. Status report, he said. Zills stepped forward. All ships accounted for, no critical damage, no casualties. He paused. Morale is low. Expected, Vexar walked to the command throne. Anything else? Zills hesitated. The human Admiral Chen sent a final transmission before we left. She requested that it be delivered to you personally. Play it. Admiral Chen's face appeared, not in a bunker this time, but outside. Behind her, the sun was setting over mountains. She was holding a cup of something. General Vexar, I wanted you to know something. The children who volunteered for this mission, they're all home now. They're eating dinner with their families. She took a sip. They're going to be fine. They're going to grow up. They're going to have children of their own someday. She smiled. a real smile, not the cold expression from before. And when those children ask what happened during the invasion, their parents are going to tell them about the aliens who came to take them away, and about the grandparents who volunteered to be captured so their grandchildren would never have to be afraid again. She set down her cup. That's what you don't understand about us, General. We don't fight for territory. We don't fight for resources. We don't fight for glory. We fight for each other. And there is no force in the universe more dangerous than a species that has decided that everyone matters. The transmission ended. The journey to Imperial space took 6 weeks. Vexar wrote and rewrote his report. He interviewed every captain. He reviewed every sensor recording, every communication log. He found no mistakes, no moments where a different decision would have changed the outcome. The humans had simply been better, not better technology, better weapons, better at something more fundamental. They had been willing to sacrifice everything for each other. The Imperial Command Council received his report at 0900 Imperial Standard Time. An hour later, they issued a directive. Sol III designation, quarantine zone. No Imperial vessel is to enter this system under any circumstances. No harvesting operations are to be conducted within its boundaries. No contact is to be initiated with its inhabitants. This order is permanent and absolute. The species known as humans is to be classified as hazard level alpha, capable of existential threat to Imperial interests. This species is not to be underestimated again. Vexar read the directive in his quarters. He thought about the woman on the mountain, drinking tea as the sun set, about the children waving at his collection crews, about the mother who had placed herself between a collection beam and a toddler, arms spread wide, feet planted. She had not screamed, she had not begged. She had simply stood there exactly where the beam would hit first. She had not stopped protecting, he realized. She had simply expanded the definition of who needed protection. The directive was right. The humans were a hazard, but not because they were dangerous. Because they were parents, and there was no force in the universe more dangerous than a parent protecting their child. Vexar stood, walked to the viewport, looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there on a blue planet that had almost been his greatest conquest, a species was raising their children, teaching them, protecting them. And if the Corfax Empire ever threatened those children again, that same species would bring the rest of their defensive capability to Imperial space. The 99% that Admiral Chen had not shown him. He wondered what it looked like. He hoped he would never find out. Vexar picked up his stylus and wrote 3 words at the bottom of the final page. Leave them alone. Then he set down the stylus, walked to the viewport one last time and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, a woman was drinking tea on a mountainside. A young officer, her daughter, was probably standing nearby, waiting to walk through the blast door together. And the universe kept turning. Not because the humans had won, because they had never been fighting to win. They had been fighting to protect. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. The Dominion claw sailed through the darkness toward Imperial space. Behind it, invisible now, a blue planet spun through the void. On that planet, a woman named Chen walked through a blast door. Her daughter walked beside her. And somewhere in the bunker behind them, a tactical display showed the energy signatures of defensive platforms that had never been fired. Waiting, always waiting, for a threat that would never come again, because the Corfax Empire had learned its lesson. Not from fear, not from force, from a species that had simply refused to stop protecting their young.